The United States of America is at war with Iran, and our president is completely compromised on so many different fronts. Number one, he's a malignant narcissist. Number two, he's a dipshit. Number three, we know because he constantly talks about everybody else's IQ that some night he was up in his Marie Antoinette bedroom and he was served an IQ test and he probably took it. And I'm thinking double digits because he will not shut up about it because he himself has a low IQ. And he has been elected president of the United States. And the sane washing and sanitizing that goes on in the Western media about this man's brain and his mental acuity is one of the biggest moral shortcomings of Western democracies, in my opinion. Like the disservice the press has done to the public regarding his mental well-being is astounding, especially considering we have U.S. troops dying. TSA is not funded, but it's billions upon billions upon billions of dollars to go into a war where we were at zero risk with Iran. The previous president, 2 presidents ago, Barack Obama had a nuclear deal with them. Now Trump's trying to get the same deal back. That's how stupid he is. That's how stupid the people surrounding him are. But they like to get caught up on semantics. Is it a war? Is it not a war? Well, when you have Pudding Boy, whose brain's completely cooked, Kanks talking about it, this is a little hypercut that Aaron Rupar put together from the Oval Office yesterday. Watch this.
I like to say this. We've won this. This war has been won. The only one that likes to keep it going is the fake news. I mean, the New York Times. Do you want to give about a 3-minute statement on how we're doing in this, as I call it, military operation? People don't like me using the word war, but so I won't. But the Democrats call it a war, and at a very difficult time because, we are at, as they would say, a war. They call it a war. I call it a military operation, a very successful one, like nobody's ever seen before.
Okay. Pump's also in this interview, and I'm just sparing the viewer from all of the footage of this man because we're all so done. He says they're giving him a big prize, Iran. Yes. He also said they have taken out the entire regime, yet they are negotiating with the regime. So just what I showed you there about the semantics, they can't even keep this guy in script. And then there's reporting this morning that people in the White House were mystified about Trump speaking about Iran, giving him a surprise.
Here's the thing with Trump. First of all, he has to say nobody's ever seen anything like it, which is a clue that he has completely fucked something up, in my opinion. And the prize thing, it's like you're sending ground troops. We have paramilitary troops that have been sent over there while you are saying, oh, we're not at war. We completely won. We're so bad and tough and cool. When the reality is, anybody who can pay one bit of attention understands that the U.S. is not in a strong position right now. That is a fact. But he tells his supporters this, and he lies. And whether he calls it a war or an excursion, U.S. servicemen and women are dying. We are losing billions of dollars every single day. Little girls in Iran are being murdered. Like, if that is not a war. So what strikes me is at this phase in his dementia, his usual ability to brand and spin a narrative has completely collapsed. He is no longer capable of doing that because every time he opens his mouth, it gets worse.
And I would just like to expand on your point that we are not in a strong position. And the reason that we are not in a strong position is because we have a weak and compromised president. Leadership starts at the top and it trickles down. We have incompetence, dementia, sociopathy, psychopathy, pathological lying, owning the libs, petty incompetence at the top, and that trickles down. And Trump has already started to lay the groundwork that he is going to throw Hegseth under the bus for this entire thing. The clip I'm about to show you is we're getting to like the 4th time. So when Hegseth gets in front of the camera, he's still auditioning for Trump. He's still auditioning, even though he's been appointed Secretary of Defense, refused to call it Secretary of War, because Donald Trump has Witkoff and Kushner running point on this entire thing. He has sidelined Vance and he has sidelined Hegseth. And British intelligence believes that Kushner and Witkoff are Israeli assets. And so Hegseth, when he gets on the camera, he has to really act like a tough guy. And this is just something for us to laugh at. Here is Hegseth talking about the military being vicious, and Trump has untethered them, and the throttle is hard and long. And I want you all to watch Trump's eyebrows when Hegseth says the words hard and long. Play the clip.
Has made it clear that you will not have a nuclear weapon. The War Department agrees. Our job is to ensure that. And so we're keeping our hand on that throttle as long as hard as is necessary to ensure the interests of the United States of America are achieved on that battlefield.
So it's really fascinating because this is a a regime that every single cabinet member is a puppet. And
Right.
then you have these people that are running those departments behind the scenes that have really nefarious ideas. Like I think Kushner, Witkoff, Putin, Orban, Netanyahu, the collusion that seems to be happening and no freak out whatsoever about the fact that like we're at a war with Russia because we're the proxy of Iran, yet we just unleashed all these sanctions on them. So now they're able to get more money from us to bomb our ally more. And then they undo sanctions on Iran because nobody ever thought about this. And here's Trump because he knows this is such a quagmire, or at least some people around him do. And they're already laying the groundwork for somebody to take the fall. And Hegseth is so stupid and so brainwashed in Christian nationalism. He does not realize what's happening. Play this clip.
I don't want to say this, but I have to. And he said, Pete and General Raisin-Cane, I think this thing's going to be settled very soon. Here they go. Oh, that's too bad.
He says, Pete says, oh, that's too bad. Doesn't want it settled soon. This is the fourth drop where he has specifically called out Pete Hegseth. And nobody thinks for a second that Pete Hegseth is a decision maker at the Department of Defense. They allow him to do the dismantling of what he calls DEI projects. Those are his pet projects at the Pentagon, and firing qualified intellectuals that understand about military and how it should be used sparingly, and that have done, the United States has run so many scenarios as to what happens if we attack Iran. And that's why the Pentagon advised Trump, don't do it. So Trump pushed the Pentagon out, and he listens to Netanyahu, Kushner, and Witkoff.
I feel like in my lifetime, I remember a time that if someone was alleged by a foreign government to be an agent for a different country in the United States, that would have been stop the presses. This person needs to be sidelined and investigated. I feel like in my lifetime that would have happened. In terms of Hegseth, in my opinion, based on how he has handled the press, and the press was kicked out. Now a court order put him back in. He still won't follow the law. He kills people and lies about it. To me, he has a thirst for blood, and he is more than happy to do anything, whether it is legal or illegal, and probably prefers it based on his comments and his behavior if it's illegal, because it makes him feel tough. And so Trump has all these nefarious actors in his ears. Pete Hegseth is not the Secretary of Defense that would say, we have international laws that we have to follow. He's just simply not. He's dismantled within the Pentagon how to protect civilians in some type of war situation. He's completely gotten rid of those. He's completely gotten rid of the press. Madder than a hornet that the U.S. senators and some congressmen said, troops, you don't have to follow illegal orders. This man is a criminal. He will do anything he is told to do because he has zero ethics or morals, and he likes to see blood shed, in my opinion.
And this is why Trump is throwing him under the bus. Make no mistake about it, listener and viewer. I cannot emphasize this enough. The cabinet people are puppets. And then you have people that cannot pass security clearances, who have their both hands in conflicting cookie jars, like Jared Kushner, like Witkoff. You have the president's own sons profiting off of drone companies. You have somebody who made a huge insider trader deal. Pete Hegseth is just like Kristi Noem, somebody they're going to trot out to blame everything on. But Kylie, let's go to the fifth post right now to Pump's point about Pete Hegseth being a homicidal, maniacal psychopath. This is 100% true. Pop this up. Pete Hegseth's pastor and close spiritual advisor says he wants Texas Democratic State Representative James Tallarico to die. We want him crucified with Christ, says Hegseth's pastor. And he hopes and prays that God kills James Tallarico, the senatorial candidate in Texas. James Tallarico responds, Jesus loves, Christian nationalism kills. You may pray for my death, pastor, but I still love you. I love you more than you could ever hate me. James Tallarico is a much better person than I am.
Yeah.
I hate Pete Hegseth, and I hate his pastor. I have lived around these Christian nationalists, and I know the cruelty that they exercise, gravitate towards, manufacture on a daily basis, whether it be insulting somebody or wishing harm for other people. This is their default setting. And so Pete Hegseth's pastor is somebody who thinks that women need to go back to the 1800s. Pete Hegseth wants to lecture everybody about families and traditional families. This guy's got, affairs out the wazoo, is a total alkie, which, listen, I have empathy for people that have addiction problems. Pumps is in recovery. My husband's in recovery. Several close friends and family members of mine are in recovery. When they are at their peak of addiction, they should not be in charge of the fucking Pentagon.
Right.
And so what pisses me off about this entire thing is this Christian nationalism oftentimes gets ignored by the Democrats. And Christian nationalism is a death cult. Evangelical Christianity and megachurch culture is a death cult. Listener or viewer, if you go to a church right now in 2026 and your pastor is only talking about your personal relationship with Jesus and tithing, you're in a cult, because the biggest issues right now are, I have to look, even the Pope. The Pope is speaking about human rights. And I'm not a fan of the Catholic Church, but he is taking this regime on toe-to-toe on human rights issues. When you see people talk about Palestinian suffering, the pastors that are a reflection of a messenger, if you will, I'm not a Christian, but I would assume they are messengers for Jesus Christ, should be talking about the provocations and illegal occupation going on in Iran. 1 million people displaced. 1 million people. And Israel is saying, tough titties, I don't think you're going to be able to go back to your homes. We want to expand. We want greater Israel. But a lot of these Christian nationalists and megachurchers will not speak about this because they are rapture preppers. And Pete Hegseth is a rapture prepper. So the Trump administration has very brilliantly, despite how incompetent Trump is, the people that machinate around him very brilliantly use the most co-opted, dumb portion of the electorate, which are the evangelical Christians. They got them on board to vote for Trump. They get them on board with this war. It's a holy war. It's apocalyptic. Who believes that? Pete Hegseth believes that. So he goes out and he Christian signals, and his pastor can say stuff about wishing people dead. And if you think about some of the imagery in the Bible, like the story where I can't remember the characters, but you'll probably know, Pumps, where God's like, hey, you got to kill your kid. You got to kill your kid to prove that you love me. And the dad's like, okay, I'll kill him, God. I'll kill my son. And he's like, okay, JK, just kidding. I just wanted to make sure you loved me. I would imagine, I remember when I first heard the story as a child, if your parents teaching you that that's love, you would absorb that as, is my mom or dad going to kill me if God asks? Like, it's real. So there's so much abuse in that literal interpretation of the Bible that now is in the military. And we have reporting that generals and people high up are telling soldiers they're fighting a holy war. And so this is something that Trump uses to keep the cult together. And Pete Hegseth is a puppet in that. And what's so interesting right now is there's some reporting coming out of Iran, which I'm just going to say, I believe the reporting probably coming out of Iran more than I do what's happening inside the United States government right now because of the clips that I've just played for you. But pop this up. Iran has said it will not negotiate with Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, deeming them, as the UK did, foreign agents serving Israel, instead demanding to negotiate with J.D. Vance. The VP, who has positioned himself as against the war, but supportive of the president, now has the chance to negotiate an end to the Iran war. The move would undoubtedly be good PR for Vance, who has been the subject of attacks from across the GOP, painting him as both too hawkish and too dovish. Through the negotiations, Vance gets a chance to cement himself as the, quote, pro-peace successor to President Trump, standing apart from the hawkish Rubio and Hegseth. And this is super important. After the Iraq War, why did Barack Obama beat Hillary Clinton? Because he was the anti-war candidate. Hillary was hawkish. Every time we know historically that the Americans get involved in these wars, these quagmires, this shit show in the Middle East, the American public comes back with a rabid appetite to vote for anti-war candidates. And within the MAGA movement, they're already setting that up with an assist from Iran, which I don't blame Iran for not wanting to talk to Witkoff and Kushner.
You know, here's the thing about J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance, as you have eloquently put it, is a prostitute. So I don't have any faith that he will be on a message and stay on a message, because he's a chameleon. Whatever situation he is in, he changes his viewpoint. I do think politically, strategically, politically, it would be great for him, which is a question of, would Trump even send him? Because Trump makes this big show of, the Hunger Games between Hegseth and Rubio. So I think it'll be interesting, but he has no experience in diplomacy, none. So
nobody does. Nobody in the entire regime does. They have fired civil servants. They've fired experts. These are guys that are out there freeballing it. It's a freeballing administration that has the audacity to look in the camera and say, nobody saw Iran hitting back after we hit them. We had no idea they were going to come after our proxies in the Middle East. I mean, nobody saw that coming. We talked to all the experts, and I'm like, I could have figured that out. You attack Iran, they're going to go, oh, we're the closest American and Israeli shit around us that we can bomb back. They've been planning for this.